But I'm Carmen Kostelansky. I run this place. It started in 1982 behind us where the War Memorial is now. Jack Moody started over there. That's over 100 years ago that he had the uniforms and stuff that came in. He started in 1982 though, but he had World War I uniforms, World War II, Korea. He had a lot of mannequins, lots of guns, and he got dementia, and the family wasn't aware of what was going on. He let the building demolish. The snow started coming in, the rain started coming in, it ruined the guns, it ruined mannequins. So the family realized what was happening, and the mayor at that time was Rusty Casto, and they came in to see if my daughter would help coordinate moving all the stuff that belonged to Nitro out of that museum. So she went in, and the youngest Moody girl went in, and they wrote down everything that was able to be taken from that museum that we could use for Nitro history, like the history of how the nitrocellulose came to be and World War I and all that. That's what we wanted mainly to get out of that museum. So when they took it out, then we opened up the next museum in 2005 down in the old Nitro High School building in room 100, which was an English classroom. We were there, they made like this size here, and they made a mace to it, and we had World War I uniforms, we still had World War II, we had mannequins. The problem we had getting stuff was Jack, when he did the inventory, they didn't do an inventory. He just shook their hand and said, I'll give it back to you when you want it back. Well, when he died, the family wouldn't give anything back because it was not categorized, there's no paper trail, nothing. So people were really mad, and they did not want to give stuff to the museum when we started down there. But then when they started coming in and realized that we had a paper trail, we have an inventory set up, they started bringing things in, uniforms, guns, you name it, they brought things in. One neat thing is when we opened up in 2005, I had my students from Hay Middle School wear the uniforms and walk around as living mannequins. And one lady came in and she got real emotional, and the little kid came and got me, and I went over, and he had on her grandson's uniform. And they just thought that was so cool, and she was bawling her eyes out, and they got the whole group crying on us. But then in 2013, they decided the museum down there was out of sight. You couldn't see it. It wasn't visited much. The only time it was visited if we had like the Boomtown days, and I had the kids go out and solicit coming into the museum. So the mayor had this building donated to him. And I think originally they thought they were going to move the city hall over here, but then he thought, hey, let's move the museum. So in 2013, we moved everything up that we had at the time, still there, up here. That's what's over there. Now, since then, we have gotten so many more artifacts. We have over 1,900 artifacts that are in inventory right now, but we've got a lot more that's got to go in. We have World War I uniforms. One of us, a grandfather, one of our guys in Nitro that was shot. His uniform has holes in the back of it. He also hurt his shoulder, so they sewed his arm. One of his arms was up. They wouldn't give him a new uniform. They sewed his arm up. There's a lot of history. People bring things into us because their loved ones have died, and they've gone up in the attic, and they have found all these uniforms. And they said, what do we do with them? So they bring them to me. And of course, my theory is we're keeping your family alive by putting your uniform in here. The uniforms that are on the mannequins are people that have already died, and they've given us the uniforms. Let's see. We've guns, lots of things. We have, our pride is we do have 2 lampshades that were given to us by the concentration camp. One of our Vietnam veterans was in Dachau, Germany, and one was dug up in a house, and one was given to him by the concentration camp. They were made out of human skin, and those are under lock and key. We don't tell everybody that because we don't think some kids can handle it. When my daughter was in the 4th grade and she went to Mr. Moody's museum when he had over there, that was the main thing the kids saw when they first went in. It was sitting right there, and he told them, this is made out of human skin, and it devastated my daughter. I mean, she came on and she cried for days. A lot of the students didn't understand it, but we are glad to have it. They are in there in one of the showcases. We have a lot of different things that people have given us. from Purple Heart recipients, Bronze Star recipients. The uniform, when you go in the front door here, it's a Mr. Bailey's uniform. It's not the uniform he actually wore because he was killed 73 years ago, and they did not find his body until 73 years later. And they brought his body home in this brand new uniform that they put him in. It wasn't his, but it was actually a captain's uniform. And they sent his body home to his sister. And so she brought it to me and wanted to know if we wanted it. And I said, oh yeah, we'd love to have it. So that's here. Can you think of anything else, girls, I need to say?
Well, we've got letters and wristwatches.
Oh yeah,
and all
lots of
kinds
letters
personal
written.
Items.
Yeah, we just opened up a trunk that had a picture of her loved one. His uniform was over here, and pictures of when she was younger, and pictures with him, all kinds of different pictures. We found pictures all the time. Nobody has their names on them. We don't have any idea who they are, but they're there. We have a scrapbook area we eventually have, and there's like 2 buggies completely full of pictures and scrapbook things to make pictures out of the people. We don't have any idea who they are, the people have brought to us. We're hoping people will come in and say, hey, I know that person. We have had people come in. Susan was working one day, and a guy came in and was talking about his family grew up in Nitro, and he was born here in 1918 when the plant was opened. And so Susan said, well, we have all the hospital records from the hospital, because we had a 400-bed hospital here. And so they went back to look at it, and sure enough, it said baby, and she said, that's my grandpa. So she was all excited, but and we've had people come in and look at the pictures and say, that's my grandpa, and didn't know they were here. And of course, our biggest thing we have now is, of course, the Vietnam Wall. And we really love having it. We want our soldiers to feel that they were welcomed home by us when they came in from Vietnam. So that's our main focus anymore, is our Vietnam Wall. And of course, this part of the museum back here is all Nitro High School. It's all the athletes. We're up to 1973, putting their pictures up. And we have the authors of Nitro and just our famous people from Nitro. But
Carmen,
yeah.
Have you seen any paranormal activity?
I can't see you.
Do you have any
Oh, with me?
Yes.
Okay. When we first opened, this doesn't go any farther than this room, you all. I don't want people to think I'm crazy.
We don't think anyone's crazy.
Okay, good.
I mean, look at that.
The first, Cindy and them had a drum group, like a drumming class over here all the time. So I started coming in, and she says, I know something's going on. So I went over and I watched our cameras, and you could see orbs everywhere in this room over here. I mean, they were flying everywhere. We'd get up and we'd go over there and look where it was, and it would be somewhere else. I mean, constantly when the drums were playing. When the drums quit, it quieted down.
Wow.
But after that, my theory is we woke them up, okay? Well, Susan's daddy's trunk is right here, Dr. George Hodgson. And I was here one evening, like I always am by myself, and I was going real fast to the front just before I had to have a cane. And I was going to the front, and I knew somebody was following me. And I went like this, and there was a gray-haired man following me. So I started walking toward the front, and I could see in the camera, and there definitely was a gray-haired man following me. Well, I thought it was Dr. Hodgson, because that's where his trunk was, and that's where I went right by. So I just turned and said, George, and he went away. But I haven't seen him since, thank the good Lord, because I don't want to run into him again. But now we've only seen a couple orbs lately, but you have to be here late at night. But Cindy and I watched them one night. We thought they were lights coming from the other way. But then when she went out there, they weren't. There weren't any lights out there shining in here. But you can follow them on our cameras.
Anything that we see in here, we try to
reason what it is.
What it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't want to think we've got somebody walking around here. We want to think, oh, yeah, that's a light from the church over there, or that's a car going by. So we try to always make sure that, we're not crazy.
And what about the mannequins?
Well, if you walk through this room, especially in the evening time, you'll swear the mannequins are moving. I mean, because they act like they're watching you. And lots of times, because I get more work done when I'm by myself than when people are here working, because they talk to me. When I'm in my office, I can hear people talking, and I'll come out and say, who's out there? Nobody's there, and I'll go back to my office. I swore one day I was typing at the computer and somebody went by, and I just froze and I got up and there wasn't a soul there, and I looked out and I went home. So I thought, no, I'm not going to stay here. But I mean, there's always things like that happening. You can hear movement, you can hear talking, and there's a room upstairs that the kids use to base softball in and take training in. But at that time when I heard voices, there wasn't anybody up there. You know, you can hear them running across the room when they're upstairs. But yeah, there's a lot of weird things. Cindy, did I leave anything out?
She trips on things that's not there.
Oh,
I do that.
that's when my knees were first getting bad, and I went to go to the bathroom and I tripped right over my foot and fell flat on my face. Smarty pants. But that's it. I mean, you know, we have a lot of history in here, lots and lots. It goes back 100 years. Lots. And we're very proud of our museum. We love it.
Thank you very much.